First of all, thank you for being here. I absolutely love having you here. This is one of the podcasts I've been looking forward to. We've been talking about doing a podcast for a long time. Every time we jump off a call, it's like, this could have been a podcast.
Every single call. I'm like, did you record that?
Did we record that? That's right. We have some good ideas too.
Yeah.
Things flow. Well, it's awesome having you here. As you know, the formula is all about people's formula for success.
Okay.
And in my opinion, and I always tell people, you're like sunshine in human form. You have a great energy. It's super dope. And my idea for today was to, kind of open up beyond your Instagram and your social media for you to be able to tell your story. Tell a little bit more about where you're from, kind of how you got to where you are, and what your formula has been to achieve whatever success you consider you've achieved. So what would you say to that?
First of all, I need to hire you for all my introductions because I just need you to proceed telling everyone that I'm sunshine in human form.
Everybody
Thank
talked
you.
about you feels the same way, though.
I appreciate that. Honestly, funny enough, I'm wearing yellow today. So
there you go.
I will take that compliment. Very sweet. Taking back to the roots, obviously, I grew up in Brazil, lived there till I was 9, moved here as immigrants from with my family, didn't know how to speak English, didn't know how to do anything. That's probably why I don't have an accent today, because I was like, I will not be bullied for being different.
Listen.
And that was like a huge thing. I moved to Virginia. They were like, she's an alien.
Right.
And I was like, I can't be different. Like, I need to like fit in. And that's something that I look back to now. And I'm like, now I like the things that make me different. But back when you're like young and you're a kid, you never want to be different. Because that's room for bullying. And like, as you're older, you're like, that's what makes you unique.
Right.
But we can come back to that. I went to school in UCF down in Florida to be an industrial engineer because...
I don't think anybody would see you and be like, oh, look, there's an industrial engineer.
Yeah, right. First of all, people don't even know what an industrial engineer is.
What is an industrial engineer?
So industrial engineer, we study the science of productivity. So how to make processes faster, how to eliminate waste from a process. So some of the projects that I worked in school, I was like, we went to Chick-fil-A. We're like, how can we make the Chick-fil-A get more cars and more customers? How can we design the drive-through so that more people can get their food faster? We can get more input.
Was this like a live project or like a thesis?
Yeah, a live project.
No way.
I worked literally underground at a hospital trying to figure out how we could get patients their medication like faster to their room so that there wouldn't be like a lag, how to calculate when someone needed something so that, there's like times that people need there's a window when patients need medication.
Wait, let's take a pause for a second.
Yeah.
You're telling me that you were in high school here and you were just like, I'm going to be an industrial engineer. Like, how did you even land there?
Well, okay, so I think that was kind of like my only idea of success that I had back then. You always look up to the people that are older than you, and in Brazil and like as an immigrant, the only way that you got opportunities is if you go to school, you go to college, you get a good job, and that's kind of like what's set out for you. Yeah, that is the path. That's the only path that I knew, and I always looked up to my parents. That's what they did. They were kind of like, I mean, my family's not wealthy at all. We're very simple, but my parents were the ones out of their family that were able to just make a little bit more for themselves. Okay, and so I was like, they are more successful than their brother and sisters, so I need to follow in their footsteps, which is go to college, get an education, get a job.
And you would say they were more successful financially or like overall and like family?
I think
overall.
I think in family, like, my family has a great
life.
Yeah, a great life.
And you wanted
that. But I think
you.
Financially, compared to their brothers and sisters, I was like, okay, my parents are the more wealthy ones.
They figured it out.
Yeah, they figured it out. So I was like, all right, that's what I need to do. I need to go to college. And then I was like, you get out of high school, you're 18.
You have no idea what you're doing.
And you're like, they're like, all right, figure out what you're going to do for the rest of your life. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to I look up to my dad. My dad's an engineer, so I'm going to be an engineer. And he's not an industrial engineer, but I'm like, I'm not going to build bridges. I can't, fix cars and trinkets. I'm like, this one sounds like a little bit more like mental and like figuring the process of shit out. So I'm going to go with that one.
And that's interesting because, I've always admired, we always talked about this when it comes to your finances and everything. You're always prepared. You're always ahead of it. You're inquisitive. Like, how does that work? You're not afraid of asking questions. And the background of engineering has to have a lot to do with it, right? Like, I guess you have like a foundation for processes and the way, like wanting to find out the way things work. Is that kind of where it comes from?
Yeah, I think You know, the people are very type A and or like they're very type B, and sometimes it's very obvious. I think that I'm type A or type B, depending on the scenario.
Okay.
So when it comes to like that, I feel like I'm very type A, where I'm like, I want to be I want to be in the numbers. And as an industrial engineer, it doesn't matter if you're an industrial engineer or if you're a mechanical engineer. We all took the same classes. So we all took thermodynamics. So I had to take every single math class that exists, you know? So I was in the numbers and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed understanding that there's an equation and you could figure that out.
Isn't that
and
weirdly...
that's why I actually liked engineering, because I was like, I like that there's an equation and like you can figure it out and like there's an answer. And I like history, can't memorize the stories, the books, like, but math, I was like, I get it because I get the numbers and I like looking at them, and I never mind. Like everyone's like, always like, math is the worst class. I'm like, no, I like it because it tells a story.
There's something peaceful about math, whereas there's a formula that leads to a solution, and it's almost immutable, right? It's like 2 + 2 is 4 no matter what you do. I have this saying, like, numbers don't lie, people do. And it's just, once you figure out the formula for something and it clicks, you don't forget it because it's the fundamental way it works.
Yeah,
and I know I sound super nerdy,
apply it.
But you could apply it across a bunch of different things.
You could apply it, yeah. So I don't know, there is something beautiful about formulas, and going back to the podcast name, and just life in general. I think that whenever you kind of figure out a formula for something, it gives you that base to where you can build off of it, and it gives you structure to where you're not just guessing, oh, why is it when I have 2 + 2, now I have 4? You're like, I know that if I can get 2 more, then I'm going to be at this place.
Exactly. Love it. So how did you go from UCF, Chick-fil-A, hospitals? Like, what happens then?
So what happened then is I had an internship at Lockheed Martin, and they freaking...
You were going to be a rocket scientist?
Yes, pretty much. They loved me, and they were like, oh, you're like our best intern. And I was like, yeah, like I feel so cool. But then one day I was like sitting there. I was also, every day that I would drive to work, I'd have like 40 minutes. I'd have like a 40-minute drive. Yeah, I have my commute, and then I'd be in my internship, and then I would leave, and then I have my commute, and then I have to go to class. And then after class, I would have to like do my homework, do my tasks, and then after that, I would go and work at a bar to pay myself like through college until 2 a.m. And then I'd wake up at 5 a.m. and then go to my internship. And it was just like a cycle. And there was a lot of mixed things in there where it was like I was really, really doing it, but I had to had another job. And what I liked about it was that in my commute, I kind of got tired of listening to music. So I started listening to podcasts. And I started listening to like Tony Robbins and things like that.
Oh, the game changers,
yeah,
Tony Robbins.
And so it kind of just like planted little seeds, gave me, you know, like ideas, but there wasn't something to like take action from. And when I was sitting at Lockheed Martin one day, I was sitting next to this guy, Jeff. He was amazing. He had been there for literally working there his entire life, 50 years. And I've never heard Jeff cuss in my entire life. And I'm just sitting there working, and he's like, fuck. And I'm like, Jeff, what happened? And he's like, oh, sorry, don't worry about it, sweetie. I'm like, are you okay? Did something happen? And he's like, no, I thought I was going to retire next year, but I got 3 more to go. In that moment, my heart sank, and it was like the entire world collapsed in a timeline. I'm like, I am Jeff. I'm in Jeff's chair. I am going to be Jeff. In 50 years, I'm going to be sitting in that chair, and I'm going to be like, I can't retire yet. And I literally have like chills thinking about it, because that was like, if I can pinpoint one moment where I was like, it was like seeing yourself as like an 80-year-old person.
It was an epiphany.
Yes, it was an epiphany. And I was like, I have to do something. And then like that whole day, they were all giving me compliments. I feel like it's like the world testing. Like, we can't wait to hire you and you work for us. And I was just like, I had this like ball in my chest. I'm like, what is going on? And so I think that mixed with maybe kind of like maybe the priming Tony Robbins gave me and all these things, I was like, okay, I think that I am not on the right path. And even though I was good at what I did and people told me that I was good and that they liked having me there and I tried really hard, I knew that there was just like something missing, like a little bit of passion missing, where I'm like, okay, I do it and I know that it makes other people happy and I see that there's some success, but my heart wasn't in it. I didn't wake up every single day and I'm like, woo, woo, gonna get to work for Lockheed Martin. So while all this is happening, it's the rise of social media, it's the rise of Instagram. I'm just doing things that I love, going to the gym, going surfing, hanging out with my friends, and just, being a teenager, posting things. And I'm starting to get like traction. I'm getting followers, I'm getting an audience, and brands are like, oh, let me fly you out to LA. Let me, come model for our brand. I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm a model now, whatever. And then I started making money from that. And then I was like,
wait a minute.
Why am I making more of this when I fly in for a weekend than I am at my job I've been working for the last 4 years?
Yeah.
And I was like, what is going on? So I had to kind of just make a decision towards when I was going to graduate, what am I going to do? Because they're giving me a job offer and they're hiring me, or I could do something that I have no idea if it's going to work out. But there was just something in my heart that was like, do the latter. And how I also came up with that decision was I had to take myself out of where I was because that was too much of a big decision to make.
Okay.
And I had to put myself in the future and kind of be like, what is the worst case scenario, right? So I'm like, worst case scenario, I take a chance on myself and it doesn't work out. And guess what? I still have my degree. I can still always go back to college, get my master's, whatever I need to do.
It's not final.
Yeah, and it's fine. It's not like I can live with my parents if I need to, And I'm like, that's not such a worst case scenario.
Right.
Worst case scenario is I keep this job. I never take a chance on myself. I never see where that leads me. And then I end up like Jeff, looking back, living my life with regrets. And that gave me chills down to my spine to where I'm like, it's
answer simple.
Even though it was not like if you're just in the moment and you're not zooming out, the answer is not simple. The answer is like, get the secure job. Don't take the chance. Do the right thing. Do the things that your parents taught you to do. So that would have been like the logical answer to have in that moment. But if I didn't zoom out and kind of look back at it like introspectively a little bit from my future self, then I wouldn't have made the decision that I made. So I think that sometimes that's really important because in the moment you're always going to have tunnel vision as to like what you should do, what logic tells you to do, because you only have so much experience, and that experience is going to give you the answers to, whatever decision you're having to make. Versus whenever you're zooming out, you're kind of looking back on yourself like you are more wise. So I think it also kind of helps you make a more wise decision.
Yeah.
And I don't regret the decision at
all.
No,
I'm glad you did.
Here we are.
There's so much to unpack. I'm like, yes, we're getting into it right away. Because here's the thing. I also know that there is a big child in you that you nurture and you care about, right? And that's because I know you well. And I know that child is more present in you in your life than most adults. Like most of us grow and we try to get away from our inner child.
Yeah.
But that inner child also had dreams, and they weren't being an industrial engineer at Lockheed Martin, right? And I think what you do today is closer to what you dreamed of doing as a kid. So maybe that thing in your heart that you talk about and you describe so well, where you're like, wait a minute, like even though this is success in many ways, the end result of this formula that I've been chasing isn't necessarily what checks off that box in my heart. And there's got to be another answer to this. Most of us don't necessarily recognize that early enough. And we do dive into, like for me, it was banking. I did banking for 10 years and I was good at it. I was great at it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I made money. But there was something missing the whole time. And I don't know if it's courage or maybe having that ability to look at it from a higher view. But it wasn't until 10 years later that it was like, and I had a similar situation where my boss was passed up for a huge promotion. And he's like, I thought I was going to get it. And they told me I was going to get it. And now I don't. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm him.
Yeah.
And what if I get to that point? And it's just like, there's got to be another way to come in every day at 8:30 and leave at 6 while everybody's doing whatever they're doing, chasing their dream. I need to get out of here. And that's when I left the corporate world. There's nothing wrong with it. And I think some people are better suited than others to it. But I do think having that inner child and having that big idea of what is the end result you're looking for helps you shape your answer. into
Yeah.
what it is that you should pursue, at least.
And I do want to say, like, if there's anyone watching and maybe they're younger or maybe they're going through this, I don't say this to discourage you, like, discourage them from the corporate world at all, because I think that there's a time and place. And I also don't think that I would be the person that I was if I didn't have, like, that
Yes.
experience at Lockheed Martin, right? Because you do need structure, especially if everyone, maybe they want to work for themselves. So they're like, I shouldn't do a 9 to 5. But it's like, no, do your 9 to 5, because it's going to teach you the structure that you need. Because once it's just on you to put that on yourself, it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a time and place for it. I think that it's very important for you to maybe go out into the corporate world, get, information, gather, meet people, learn about like that field, if that's a field that you want to be in. But also learn when it's okay to leave.
Right.
And I think that there's a huge distinction in that. And that's why I never want to like shy people away from 9 to 5, because like, I mean,
there's a lot of value there.
I work a 9 to 5. I work a 6 to 12.
Yeah, exactly. Now you
like
work more.
6 a.m. to 12 a.m. sometimes. But the 9 to 5, like, it's going to give you the structure that you need. It might give you connections. It might give you that stepping stool.
Right.
And you might just thrive in it. And that's okay. And so for anyone listening, I think it just depends on also, like, your personality, your dreams, like what is going to work for you. Because there is a place for you to grow within that corporate structure. But if there's a moment where it's not allowing you and it's not being in your purpose, then that's when you just have to be conscious to go somewhere else.
And have the courage to take the step.
Yeah.
Which then leads me to the Tony Robbins tapes, because I had also, and back then it was CDs. I don't want to date myself, but I had a little book with all the music, CD music. Don't make fun of me. That's not cool.
No, that was a funny comment.
It's back in the days. And then, but at the end, I remember someone left their CD book in my car, and I'm like going through it, let's see what they got, and they had all this music. And at the end, they had a Tony Robbins series. And for some reason, I popped it in. And what it did for me is it allowed me to see that there was more to life than what I thought there was.
Yeah.
Right?
Outside your parents, right?
Outside of your parents, and like go get a career and go get a job. And like for me, I wanted to be a baseball player my whole life. And since I was 3 years old until 21, that's all I pursued, no matter what it was. And anytime I had a chance to like have two things at once, like, go learn music or go whatever, so it was like that or baseball. And I was like, no, it's got to be baseball. When I left baseball, it was heartbreaking. It was like everything all the love that I poured into was just vanished overnight. I think that allowed me the Tony Robbins tapes allowed me to see, wait, forget baseball, forget a career, forget all this stuff. The pursuit of the best version of yourself, that is where it's at. Whether you're working in the corporate world or for yourself, whatever it is. So the density of his content, like the depth of what he had, is something that I was really attracted to.
Yeah.
You had something similar. And I think you've pulled on that string, and now we've talked about Joe Dispenza and a lot of stuff. When I speak to the majority of models and influencers, they don't have that level of depth. Tell me how you started to pull on that string and where it's led you, the different places that it's led you.
I think part of even success is being able to constantly learn, to always be curious, and also to recognize patterns. So whenever I was at a very turning point in my life, Tony Robbins was someone that was very influential and helped me kind of make a big decision that I needed to make.
Gotcha.
So I took that as a learning, like, hey, it's important to have, like you said, mentors outside of your parents and your circle, because truth is, you're not just going to be blessed with having all these high achievers if you're not a high achiever yourself. So most important is that you're able to kind of brainwash yourself in a way with the people that do think on a different level if you're trying to get on that different level.
Right.
And starting out, those are not going to be your friends. Those are not going to be your parents, because let's be real, we're the black sheep of the family. So you got to find other people that you can look up to that are thought thinkers, that have different just realities than you do.
And experiences.
And a huge quote that I like to live by is, don't take advice from people you wouldn't trade places with.
Ooh.
That's a tough one, and people will dog me on it, but I don't care, because it's true. If I'm asking you, for financial advice and you're my broke friend, what?
Yeah. Unless you learn a massive lesson that you're trying to teach me, I'm not interested.
Yeah, but that's okay. But then if you learn from experience, then you're like telling someone, that's okay. But if you're telling someone to go somewhere someone to go somewhere you've never been.
It's impossible. And there's a lot of online gurus out there that have never been.
Yeah.
And they tout and try to teach others. It's crazy.
So, yeah, you also have to just use your discernment on that. But I kind of just like to always learn, and I like to separate myself from maybe what everyone else thinks and try to be like, in order for me to grow from what I knew back then, I had to have different thoughts, right? I had to be like, okay, even though this is what I know, go to college, get a job, let me listen to someone else who's in a different place, because that thought might get me to the different place.
Gotcha.
Joe Dispenza's book, it's all about being supernatural. So to me, I'm like, what does that mean? That means that you're going to be not normal. You're going to defy maybe the laws of what people think are okay for your biology and for your body, and you're going to supersede that. And
that attracted you. That was attractive to you. That was attractive
idea was to me, because I was like, yeah, I'm not going to play by the rules. I want to play by different rules that allow me to be supernatural and give me the advantage that I need. So if everyone was thinking this way, then everyone would be in the same place.
Right.
So then why is there only the top 1%? Because clearly they think differently. They do things differently. They use energetics. So I'm going to study that. I'm going to look into that. I'm going to explore that.
What was that experience like?
Because
I'm into, like, Joe Dispenza is a rabbit hole on its own, right?
He's a rabbit hole.
And let me tell you, I began reading him when my dad got sick. He got cancer, and I had read like pieces of his book, Becoming Supernatural, and I was like, wait a minute, it's possible to heal yourself. And there was a part of me that believed that was possible, and I think belief and faith is like probably the first step there. But then he's got a scientific way of explaining it where there's a foundation of logic. It's not only something esoteric, right? It's something that you can actually grasp and say, okay, I understand how we can get there. I've never really done the meditations and like in person that you did, but I am super interested in talking about it, because I do believe, we started this saying like sunshine in human form. I think a big part of this energy that you bring to everything that you do also attracts good things and positivity and success in many different ways. And a lot of it is how you approach that energy. Mm-hmm. So what did you learn while you were under his, like, I guess, mentorship? Or what's the things that, you hung on to the most?
Like you said, what I love about Joe, and coming back to the podcast name, is that he kind of gives a formula. He's very scientific. There's tons of gurus out there, but a lot of people, even before Joe, kind of considered energy work or manifestation woo-woo.
Yeah.
Right? And so, he even got kind of some attacks whenever he started, until he was able to really back it up with data and science. Obviously, data and science still behind on like what consciousness can do, but he's someone that has been able to like pioneer and actually explain to people what that means in terms of how your brain works in connection with your body, how your thoughts create your emotions and your feelings, and that creates your personality, and then that your actions stem from your personality and your identity, and then that kind of creates like a feedback loop in your brain. So he kind of teaches people how the brain works, how it connects to the body, those feedback loops, and how you can kind of break the habit of being yourself or like creating a new identity. And that's interesting. For me, so powerful. Something that I think has helped me be successful is that I will intentionally put myself in places where I have to learn and I have to grow. So I was seeing that. I'm like, okay, I can just look at his podcast. There's free resources, YouTube, read his books. But I like to be immersed. Mm-hmm. In order for me to learn something, I think that I need to be immersed. I'm like, don't teach me French for 10 years. I'd rather go to France and like live there for a month and like let me learn it. So for me, I was like, yes, I can read this, but I want like the hands-on experience. That's also part of like being like a kinesthetic learner where you need to like do the thing. So I'm like, what's the best way? Surround yourself with people that have the same goal. So that's why I was like, I want to go to the retreat. I want to actually be there physically in person to experience it and not have a phone, not have anything else to do besides that's in front of me. And what I got out of it was only amazing, not only the amazing experience of like feeling that energy in person, but it was like a kickstart into meditation, which for me was always something that I never understood. I'm like, okay, quiet your mind. Like, why would I do that? And the best takeaway that I can give you is that you're not quieting your mind just to like quiet your thoughts, but you are making space for your intuition to come through. You're making space for different ideas to come through. And when we operate on, what I like is that he describes like your brain waves. So whenever we're operating under stress, we're in a very high gamma waves. And when you're under very high gamma waves, like your brain is not even communicating. It's kind of like shooting and you have very narrow focus. You're like, I gotta get this done, I gotta get this done, I gotta get this done. When you actually start to slow your brain waves down, when you're getting into like your alpha, delta, theta states, and you're going into like this deep sleep state, your brain starts to become connected. So if you can keep yourself, and one thing about his retreats is that I was like, oh, if I did this, I would make people more comfortable, because we were sitting in these tiny like school chairs meditating for hours. I'm like, this is horrible. But it's also because it's like you have to be a little bit uncomfortable, because when your brain starts to go into like the delta theta states, the tendency is for you to sleep. But guess what? If you're in an uncomfortable chair
you're not gonna fall
and you're
asleep.
sitting there, like you're not going to fall asleep. So you have to like have that uncomfortability. If you're just laying in bed, you'll fall asleep. So he made us sit there. So like when your brain is kind of lowering that, what's happening is that your neurons are now all connecting, and your brain is now talking to each other, your left hemisphere, your right hemisphere, and it's all becoming more cognizant. So your ideas are able to flow. You're operating at a completely different frequency. If you've ever like taken shrooms or done anything and you're like, you start to see, you know, like maybe things
Colors
like move
or
like vibrate, it's because that drug took you to a different frequency. Now, what you can do with meditation, and why I think a lot of people skip it, is because you have to do the work.
Right.
You know, and some people are like, oh, I'm just going to do this drug and I'm going to have an awakening. And it's like, yeah, sure, maybe you will. And maybe you'll have an awakening. Or maybe you're not going to be able to control the experience and you might have a bad experience. What meditation does is it allows you to go into those states, allows you to access those frequencies, but you are in control. You are in the control of your narrative. You're in control of where you direct your intention and your thought. And so to anyone that like has maybe done drugs and like hasn't meditated, you're gonna get like the same outcome. It's a lot more work, but you're gonna be able to now navigate your life from a completely different way. And since I've came back, the number one thing I think I've been able to have is like insane emotional regulation, to where if something happens and I like notice that like my state goes up where I'm like angry, blah, 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 it's like 3 minutes top, and then I'm like back to normal, back to cool as a cucumber, because I'm like, I understand what my body's reaction to that is, and I'm not going to choose to live in that frequency. Like, I'm not going to choose to be in that state, because I know if I'm up here in that state, I know what that reality of that state is.
The result of
and
that.
what I'm attracting. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to like quiet my mind. I'm going to choose a different reality, and I'm going to choose to live in that. And the moment that you do that, even though something horrible just happened, I kind of just like literally brainwash and trick myself into like, no, this is actually what's happening. Everything's fine. Then everything else starts to conform to that, because I literally
Reality changed.
Yeah, I literally say no. Like I'm not gonna live in that
so
reality.
powerful.
Like I'm gonna live in this one.
And you bring up something that I really like. I knew it, but I really like acknowledged it in my life. A trip with intent in Vegas, which is an awesome retreat that you do, and I'm thankful to be a part of it. I can't wait for the next one. But we did a meditation with Tori Gordon, which was so powerful. It was a breathing meditation.
Yeah, breath work.
And that breath work actually I transcended. And I've been meditating for many years, and I've done Wim Hof and different breathing meditations. That one really impacted me. I felt my body vibrating the entire time, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? But it also showed me you can achieve those drug type feelings without drugs. And if you could do that consistently, what you do is you bring that to your reality every day. What you're describing right now is you have the metacognition of saying, I know how I'm feeling at this moment. I recognize it almost from like the third person. And now you're like, how do I shift this because I know it's not good for me? That kind of self-consciousness only comes from getting to know yourself, and it's being able to quiet your mind and having that tool. It's almost like a tool in your arsenal.
Yeah.
That experience at Trip with Intent was just like, by the way, I highly recommend everybody needs to go to this. It's because it's also,
Guys, I host retreats sometimes.
yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's gonna get a lot more fun in like Hawaii and all the stuff that we have planned. But I do think there is so much value when you bring all of this mental training into real life and into your work now, because you're now a successful model. And I remember us talking last year after Miami Swim Week, and you're just like, this is like a dream of my inner child to have achieved it, right? You're almost attracting that life, aren't you? Like you walked off that stage and you're just like, I can't believe I just did that. Like it was like a dream come true.
Yeah, it was, it's in my head, I know it. And I'm like, oh, this is like my childhood dream. It was so funny because I was editing clips from Swim Week. And I also had just seen like some photos of myself as a child, and maybe I can even pop it up. But in my walk, every like single pose that I hit, I had a matching childhood
It's crazy
photo to it where I was like hitting the same exact pose as a child. And I was like, wow. I was like, you've really been doing this since birth.
You didn't even mean to.
And I was like, it's such like a cool full circle moment though, because even I think last swim week, I kind of just felt that little feeling in my heart where I was like, wow, I know that I have achieved that little childhood dream. And maybe that childhood dream was I'm going to be a model. And for my little peanut brain back then, that was good enough. And I was like, I'm going to be a model. And now that I'm a little bit more evolved, while I love saying like, oh, I'm a model, I think my goals have changed to where it's not to me about how I look, but how can I be a role model to other people? And that only comes with you kind of like educating yourself and being able to learn and grow, because I'm only as good of a teacher as I am of a student. So when it comes to the retreats that I throw and things like that, I kind of have to stay also at the forefront of knowing what's out there, because people trust me to bring that to them.
Right.
So I need to walk the walk. I need to make sure that I'm bringing you guys the best resources and have the experience. So for example, Joe Dispenza, people ask me all the time, they're like, should I do it? I love it. And I said, yeah, you should absolutely have the experience. But like for me personally, as a woman, I love Joe because he's very scientific and he lets you understand the concepts. I need a little bit more foreplay when it comes to meditation. Joe is very much like, close your eyes and think about nothing. And I'm like, what is nothing, Joe? Like I need like close your eyes, like let the light flow through you. You're like quieting your mind. You're feeling it through your body. Like I'm a woman. I need like a little bit more, like it's not just like get into it. I'm like, what do you mean, Joe? So it's good because he's very rigorous. Okay. So if you can master a Joe Dispenza, meditation, I think that you're set and you can do all almost like others. It makes things easier for you, but it's not a cookie cutter. If you're not going to enjoy it and you're not going to be in it, because the whole point of meditation is like feeling, right? It's quieting your mind but connecting to your heart. That's how you create the radio frequency. That's how you charge the intention. That's how you send out the wave signal. Because you have to connect the two. So if you're not feeling connected in your body, you're not feeling your heart, and you're just hating like sitting there, you're not doing any work. So
and that's why a lot of people are like, I tried meditation, it didn't work. I'm like, you tried it once and it didn't work?
Yeah.
You tried it for 5 minutes and it didn't work? Like, you got to give it time. It's not something you can just flip a switch and do it until you practice it long enough to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's like the one thing that I learned also at the retreat is like the act of being uncomfortable, because I was so uncomfortable there. I'm like, meditation, I'm like, when is it gonna be over? My legs hurt, my blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, you will be the master of your mind. And if you say sit, you will sit there and you will sit and you will shut up. And that is a beautiful skill for you to have over your like yourself, because I think we all kind of have these two voices in our head.
Absolutely.
The one that's like, yes, do this, you're amazing. And then the one that's like, nah, let's just give up, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So meditation is literally you're training that little voice that's like, no, you can do it. And you are the master of your like your mind is the master of your body, not your body is the master of your mind.
Correct.
And you're being in meditation is just training this little guy in your head to be stronger and to like diminish this one. So the more that you do it and the more that you practice, I think you just become more of a superhuman.
Yeah.
Because you're like, whatever, I'm tired, but this guy tells me I should do it anyway, so I'm going to do it anyways. Whereas most people, this guy is always winning. This guy is always winning the argument. It's like, you're kind of tired. Maybe you don't go to the gym today. It's like, no, you should go to the gym. No, you're tired. Go to the, okay.
This guy wins.
This guy wins every single time. With meditation, you're like, nope, I'm going to quiet. I'm going to bring my thoughts back. I'm going to bring it back. Bring it back. Like you are literally just bringing yourself. More. Yeah, you're reprogramming and giving this guy more power.
That's powerful.
Yeah, it's kind of everything.
And one of the things I love most about the fact that you talk about this, and this is why we always nerd out about it, is you live in a world that's very superficial in influencers and models and things like that. And I'm sure you run into a lot of your colleagues and they may not have the same depth of thought as you do. Do you ever have conversations with people about this stuff? Like, are they interested in it? Because it's a very superficial, like, how do you look in a bikini, or like how much you're making as a model?
Yeah.
Whatever, you know?
I can gladly say that I feel like I have a good circle to where I only surround myself with people that want to learn, that want to better themselves. So even though sometimes they might not have the same experience or maybe have willing to do the work, they are interested. So they will ask me questions about it, and that's all that I can ask for.
Is Alyssa one of them? Hi, Alyssa.
Alyssa's never done like a retreat, but I even noticed that after I did the retreat, like sometimes she would text me and she'd wake up and she's like, oh, like I'll be over in a sec, I'm doing meditation. I'm like,
dang, girl. Yeah, that's cool.
You know, so all that I care about is that I just plant the little seeds in my head.
So
if I send you videos, if I send you podcasts, if I send you things, like regardless if you watch it or not, I'm just like, I'm just planting the little seeds.
Doing your part,
because I like send stuff to my mom all the time. Like, did you watch it? No. And then one day she came up to me, she's like, oh, she sent me something. And I was like, you just sent me. I was like, you just sent me a Diary of the CEO podcast. She's like, yeah, I've been watching it. And I'm like,
it works. Yeah, it works. That's cool.
You know, so that's all that you can do is just try to maybe, like Tony Robbins was a catalyst for me in so many ways. Just kind of try to plant good seeds around your garden.
Yeah.
And it was actually funny. I had this conversation with my friends. We're at a Vegas club, and we're like all drunk, and I was like, guys, I just realized something. I was like, we're all flowers. They're like, what? And I'm like, you're beautiful. You're a daisy. You're a rose. You're a tulip. You're so beautiful, but we're all different. But we all get to be beautiful in our own way. And you know what's more beautiful? We're like at this table in Vegas. And I'm like, is that together we form a garden? And like, I just like had this like epiphany, and they're like, yeah. But I'm like, it's so true. Like each individual person, you can't compare yourself to your friend.
Okay.
They're going to be completely different than you. You know, you're going to be a completely different flower than me. That doesn't take away from your beauty. That doesn't take away from your possibility. It doesn't take away from who you are. And that's why you can't compare yourself to other people, because you're a rose and I'm a tulip.
Yeah.
And we live different lives. Or what's the sunflower? The sunflower.
You're a sunflower. What's a sunflower?
I'm a sunflower and you're a rose. You know, we can't compare ourselves to each other, but we're beautiful in our own ways. And what's just a sunflower when I could have a garden with a sunflower and a rose? And if I don't water the garden and I don't plant the seeds of the garden around me, I might just be a sunflower. But if I plant the garden and I water the seeds around me, then I get to live in a beautiful garden. And what flower doesn't want to live in a beautiful garden?
Wow. Did we record that? I hope that's recorded. I'm not gonna lie. You started with the Vegas thing, and I was like, "Oh no, she was drunk." What was in the vodka?
Yeah,
but
tequila.
There is so much wisdom in that. I appreciate it. That's cool.
Yeah, it was just like an epiphany where I was just admiring my friends. I was like, she's so pretty and she's so cool. I'm like, and she's so pretty and she's cool. I'm like, but they're so different,
right?
You know? But like,
and you do have a
unique and beautiful,
a
in
very
their own
unique
way.
circle of friends. I got to meet them at the trip, and it was just like, you all bring something to the table and support each other, which is very, very cool.
Yeah, it's like I could just water my own flower and then I just one single sunflower, or I could have a bouquet, or I could have a garden.
That's abundance, though, and that's a lot of what a lot of the mentors that I pursue talk about abundance beyond money, and you're just describing it as the people around you.
Yeah,
I think a big part of the definition of success for me is abundance, and in the way we impact others, right? So Axel Maximus has this philosophy of every family that we bring in, we sponsor a kid in World Vision, and we have all these kids that we're sponsoring, right? And I love the idea of you might not know, it might not be something you're directly doing, but indirectly you're saving a life or you're making a life better. But every time I help someone steward their wealth properly, the first thing they do is, I want to go help others. I want to go donate to a charity, or I want to go, build houses for.
Yeah.
I do think it's in human nature to want abundance beyond yourself. But we live in a world that can be a little selfish sometimes, and we just only water our
I've
own
been guilty
plant.
of being selfish.
Yeah, we all are. But I think when you are connected to your higher self, kind of like, and through meditation, a lot of the things you've described, then it's easier to follow that voice that tells you, like, hey, go make a difference in someone's lives without you even, like, it doesn't affect you, it doesn't change you, and it doesn't even need to be for your own glory. It's just because you want to make a difference and leave this world better than you found it. And that has been a big driver of my definition of success is if the work that I do, instead of people loving money, they can love God and use money as a tool to make the world the way God wants it, then success, super success. And that's that whatever skills God gave me is for that. That's my nerdy formula, right, for it. But I love sharing it with you because we are in this journey, and I want to now shift gears to all the projects you have going on. We have a lot of really cool things happening. I would love for you to share maybe whatever you can about them, whatever you want about them. But I mean, we have Hawaii, we have the retreats, we have like a bunch of different things that you're working on. Want to share any of that? Like, what do you got going on?
Yeah. Okay. So kind of going back to the topic of selfishness. So whenever I first started doing my fitness programs, it was just what I did at the gym and people were interested. And I was like, okay, let me try, help people, and I'll share them my formula to what I've done. And kind of what came out of it was my company called Bare Body. And while I love Bare Body, I kind of came to this realization that I was like, it's just about me. And I think that's also part of like maturing and realizing, like when it is to help people, but I'm like, the name, it's still like about me. It's like related to me. And I'm like, I don't want people to look at me like on a pedestal. I just want to be the person that helps to get them there. So this year I'm kind of going through a rebrand in my fitness journey where I am rebranding Bare Body into Movement.
Okay.
And Movement is spelled move and then ment, MEANT. And it just signifies making intentional moves, not only with your body to get you to where you want to be, but just every single day, right? Whenever you're in a fitness journey, you can't just live your life like everyone else. You're intentional about what you eat. You're intentional about what you do. But those skills are going to pay off in every single thing that you do. And so when I'm creating Movement, I want it to be about community. I'm hosting a lot more events. I'm going to have pop-ups. So that's something to be really, really excited about.
That is.
But to me, Movement is for the community, and Movement to me is different for everyone. So for someone, Movement might be their social hour. For someone, Movement might be their meditation. For someone, Movement might be ecstasy. For someone, Movement might just be their therapy. And I want to make a space for all of that. I want to make a space for community, for people to come together and use Movement as a way to not only move themselves closer to the person that they want to be by moving their bodies, but bringing people together so that they can do it not alone.
That's cool. That's awesome.
That's a little bit of like a rebrand that I had to have because I had to have that conversation with myself. And I think it's okay if someone feels like what business they're in no longer fits maybe what their purpose was.
Absolutely.
Because I think I just had a smaller purpose, and now I'm like,
that's true evolution.
I want to share more. So that's what's exciting with that.
And I'll tell you, whatever takes you from 0 to 10 isn't necessarily what takes you from 10 to 100.
Exactly.
And it's okay to shift. I think we are taught from a very early age, you do this and this is what you do forever.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about this. There's a concept called Ikigai, which is like your purpose.
I love it.
Right.
Pop it up, guys. You need to do
Editor.
this.
It's so powerful, the idea that you could live many lives in one, and that you had a purpose for a period of your life, and that purpose shifts and changes. Or that same purpose now needs a rebrand in order for you to achieve more with it, right? I love that concept, to reinvent myself every so often and to create bigger, better, cooler things.
And if you guys don't know what an Ikigai is, it's a Venn diagram chart. And it kind of lets you map out what you're good at, what your skills at, versus what the world needs, versus how you want to contribute. And it kind of maps everything together to where you find your purpose, to where you're making money from it, it's within your passion, and it's helping the world be a better place.
Correct.
And kind of when you combine the service with your heart, it creates like that perfect purpose. And I think that there's different vehicles, right, that you can take in order to achieve your purpose. So I think as long as you stay true to your mission, you could take a bus, you could take a road, but as long as you're trying to go towards your destination.
Totally.
And then kind of branching off into Trip with Intent, the retreats that I host, they're going to be powered by movement.
Okay.
So I always like to bring in people that are better at certain areas than me. Last one we did, I brought in Tori. She did our breath work. I'm not certified in breath work, so I can't teach that. I want an expert to do that. I want someone to come in and, give a lecture or a medical advice, and I want to just take care of the movement and host people in that sense. But I want the retreat to be well-rounded, where they're taking care of their mind, their body, their spirit, and we're all having fun and doing it together.
And they are quite fun. They're
very fun.
It's like, oh, you're going to Vegas and, it's party. It was not, it was a party, but it wasn't the regular Vegas party.
Yeah.
So we took shots, but there weren't alcohol shots.
Well, that's part of my mission is to make wellness fun, because I think that people look at wellness like it is the opposite of fun, or if it's like, okay, I have to be like this way, but I'm like, no, you can make it fun, and then that's how you make it a lifestyle. That's how you make it truly something that survives and that you live in, that you look forward to. Because I look forward to my workouts, and if you don't look forward to your workout, then we got to find something else for you, because we're not cookie cutters.
Right.
Go play pickleball, go on a walk. I don't care.
I had,
but just move.
Exactly. I had this conversation, and by the way, we took a great trip to the Grand Canyon, and we walked. Like, it was awesome being connected with nature and walking those rocks. But I had this conversation with an athlete the other day, because he's like, man, math is just not my thing. I've always struggled with it at school. And I'm like, man, how many catches did you have last year? 86. And how many yards? And how many yards for the catch? And like, we started talking about all these statistics. And I'm like, you just talked about statistics and averages. Like, you are good at math. It's just you're shifting it to what interests you. And in that realm, it's easy.
Yeah.
So I want to teach you about finance and about your money management in a way that you're going to be interested. So you apply the math in something that's fun. Movement is very similar. It's like, maybe weightlifting isn't for you. I used to be an owner of CrossFit gyms. I know CrossFit is not for everybody. It's tough. It's difficult. But you got to find something that aligns with your way of your body movement and how you're wired to move.
Yeah, and that's why, like, with Bare Body, I'm like, people can only grow in the limit that I grow. And with movement, I'm going to be my coach and teach them my formulas, but I'm going to have other coaches that bring in their formula. So if you want to do a trampoline workout, let's get a trampoline coach in here. You girls,
cool.
Let's bounce.
That's dope.
Let's bring that energy. Let's bring that fun back to movement, and let's do it together.
Awesome. So you got movement. What else you got working on? What is he working on?
The retreats kind of fall into that category. Obviously,
when is the next one? Do we know yet?
I think August.
This is a teaser. We're throwing it out there.
Okay, so maybe I can ask you guys. I was in between Bali or Thailand. I have two options right now. I think I'm gonna lean towards Thailand, but you can comment down below and vote Bali or Thailand. Okay.
We're gonna poll.
Yeah,
poll right
do a poll. Obviously, investments. I have a property in Hawaii that I'm flipping, and that came from an accident, honestly, trying to find a property to host a retreat. And then I got into real estate because I started researching how much land costs in Hawaii. And then I found a good deal, and I was like, okay, we can make some money from here. Investments, and we're working on some supplements.
Some supplement stuff. We're becoming e-commerce gurus here as well at the same time. We have an e-commerce guru over here in the house. I heard this beautiful... What's up, Mickey?
Shout out, Mickey. I heard this beautiful quote the other day, and it said, you set out to build a business, but then the business builds you.
Wow.
And I was like, we're looking at this all wrong, you
Yeah,
guys.
absolutely.
The business might just be a tool, right? It's like a tool that I'm like, okay, this is one of the mission I'm going to embark on. But in reality, the name of the game is you want to build yourself, because you're stretching yourself to new limits. You're seeing, how much stress you can take, how well you can work, how well you can delegate, how well you can treat people, your emotional, like, intelligence,
Yeah.
everything. So you got to learn. You got to learn some new stuff.
Entrepreneurship is so
Yeah.
cool, and it's got so many layers. And it's
I
usually
think
measured
that's-
by money, but there's so many ways to measure success in entrepreneurship. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I think that's why I'm like, it interests me, because I see both sides to it. And talking about, I guess, formulas for success, to me, like, that's my idea of success, is like if I'm growing. And for example, like at Lockheed, whenever I like looked at that, I was like, okay, I might grow myself and I might grow my business, but I'm not growing my soul. I'm not growing my passions. I'm not growing my interests. I'm not utilizing the skills that God gave me in the correct vessel.
Wow. What a fucking epiphany. How old were you? 20? What an epiphany
Yeah.
at 20.
So you just gotta, and it's okay to try different vehicles,
That's cool. That's cool. You spoke earlier about that period in Lockheed Martin. You stepped away and you looked at your future. If you were to look at yourself and your future now, what does your future look like?
Abundant.
Abundant?
I think that it's interesting because I use that framework whenever I have tough decisions to make. And I try to I have like envisioned myself and the things that I want to do. And when I say abundant, it's because I see myself not only succeeding in business, but I see myself being a role model to other people. I see myself supporting my family. I see myself being able to give back to the world, give back to my roots. Like, I just imagine this world of abundance where there is no lack and it's a free give and will. And sometimes I don't make like super specific or even share super specific goals, is because I could not imagine where I was today 5 years ago,
Right.
And the funny thing about success is that like you have to make a plan and you gotta go after it.
Right.
But if you don't leave that if you don't leave some margin,
A room
for curiosity and possibility, then you're neglecting the unknown, which Judge Dispenza talks about.
Right.
Because
And the
in the
unknown will never let
unknown
you
is
down.
where the magic lies.
Ah, yes,
if
exactly.
If you're always going for the known, you're always making a plan, and you have your own plan. God's plan might be different for
Exactly.
you than your own plan, and that's okay. You should make your plan. You should go after. You got to work hard. You go after your goals. But if you don't take some time to reflect, step back, maybe be like, what do you have for me? Like let me approach this with curiosity. Like let me take on my day. Even yesterday, I was just at a beautiful founders dinner of a peptide company that I just invested in, Field Peptides. And I couldn't have told you that I was going to be an investor in a peptide company.
That happened in 2 weeks.
Even 6 months ago,
Yeah.
But I think it's just about have your plan, but always leave like a little bit of that margin to where you're like, I'm welcome to opportunities, and you don't shy away from, or you don't take away from them, because that's kind of like where the chances and the things come, and you leave room for
God to do
for God
godly
to
things.
do what he wants to do.
Yeah. It's almost like set your goal and your target of the direction you want to head into.
Right.
But the how it gets there might be easier or better or faster than you could draw up for yourself. And that's the part that God handles.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think that's also part of like manifestation, right? Whenever they say know your what you want, and know your why you want it. And then the how along the way can figure it out. Like, and
Figure itself out.
Yeah, it can figure itself out. And I think that what I like about that is because there's a logical side, and then there's like the manifestation side, where it's like, okay, how are you actually going to get there? You can't just have a delulu.
Right.
This is going to happen. I'm just going to like leave it to the world. You actually do need like a bit of a plan, but that plan can stretch you out really far, or God can come in and say, hey, this is going to take you 5 years. Tomorrow, I'm going to put you in dinner with someone, and then they're going to make it happen in one day. So that's the part that it's like you don't know the how, you just have to do the best with the tools that you have. And elaborating on manifestation, I want to talk about this. I have this book that's called Outsmarting Reality.
Okay.
It's a really great book. And I really love the way that this book taught me about manifestation, because we live in 3 planes, right? We have our mind, body, and our spirit. And how this book described it is you have your mind. So you have your mental plane, which is your thoughts, what you think, what you're feeding into every single day. And that's kind of the basis of manifestation. Like, you have thoughts, you put them out into the world, and then you have your body, which are your actions. So you have people that are, and then you have the spiritual plane, which is like the unseen hand, and it's like the connection that you have, and it's what you feel in your heart, right? So it's your mind, to your mind, your body,
and like your soul.
Yeah, like your mind, your body, your doer, and your soul, your spirit, the thing that like actually moves you. And a lot of people either live in just one plane, and that's why they're not able to manifest fully. So you have the get shit doneers, right? Where it's like you just wake up and it's like go, just get shit done. And you're super stressed. You're getting things done because you're, moving in this physical plane, but you're not having that helping hand.
You're not aligned.
Yeah, you're not having that helping hand that maybe might make it a little bit easier for you, to where you're not outworking yourself to death and things can be easier. Then you have the people that are in Delulu land, and all they do is live in their mind, and they're just like, oh yeah, and then this and this, and then
never take action.
Yeah, if you just have thoughts with no action, then you're just delusional. But if you have thoughts and you take action, and those actions are aligned with your path for you,
everything flows.
Yeah, everything flows and things happen quicker. So I think that for some reason was like a really good way for me to think about it, because I'm like, okay, am I being too much of like a get shit doneer, and do I need to sit back and maybe like take a breath and like ask above for the answers? Or am I just like pondering too much and I need to make more moves and gain some momentum?
Badass.
Yeah.
Badass. This is the part I hate most about my podcast, which is my brother comes out from the back of the camera back there and he says, you have 5 minutes.
Yes.
And we have like 3 left. But I want to end with this. You, for your age, are extremely wise. You're gorgeous. You're making awesome moves. You had an amazing circle. There's so much going for you. If you had to leave people with one thought that they should consider after listening to this, what would it be? Aside from the ones that you've given them, because you've given a few here already.
One thought that they should consider. I guess I'm going to piggyback off of what we just finished. And I would say like reflection. I think that sometimes we don't do enough reflection because we're always thinking forward, and we're like, okay, what do we have? What do we have to do? What's next? And even whenever we're planning our goals for our year, we're like, okay, I'm going to get this done. And I think that not enough of us pause to reflect on like what actually worked and what actually didn't work. And if you can just give yourself that time to be honest with yourself about like, what am I proud of from last year? What are the things that I'm really proud of? And what are the things that I wish could be done? And then you take that as your formula, and then you apply it to what you're doing now and this year, and you have a really honest conversation with yourself. And you say, are the things that I'm doing now, is this going to be something that I'm going to look back at and say, damn, those are the things that I was proud of? Or am I going to look back and say, I just kept doing the same stuff and I'm stuck in the same place? And I think that once you kind of like pattern recognize and you kind of learn to actually reflect in order to build, I think that you got yourself a good formula.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Thanks for being here. It's never enough. We'll do this. We got to do another one. Now that we did one, now you know what it's like. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoy it. Mariana Morais, everybody.
Comment if you want me back. Tell them.
Yeah. Bring her back. Episode 2. Thanks.